So this video is about the audio interfaces that are found in the North Greenville Music Department Tech Lab. Most of the computer workstations have this one that you see on the right, which is the Avid FastTrack Duo, but Station 1 has this M-Audio FastTrack Pro. They actually work very similarly. As you can see, the setup and features look sort of similar, kind of mic inputs on the left and knobs on the right. But I'm going to walk you through what these knobs do so that you're not lost when you're trying to make connections for, it could be recording or just getting sound out of the computer. Since most of the stations have this one here on the right, the FastTrack Duo, we're going to look at that one first. So here's a diagram of the front panel. So starting on the left, we have these two microphone inputs, and the two microphone inputs have next to them a little switch on the bottom, and they have a gain control on the top, a gain knob. So what you see here is a 1/4-inch input jack. You can plug a guitar cable in there, you can plug a bass into that. Really anything that can go through a 1/4-inch cable can be plugged into this middle section. And then there's these three smaller holes on the outside that allow you to plug a XLR microphone cable into either one of these. And then the gain knobs on the left and the right control the input gain. So there's a very different level of voltages that come off of all these different instruments, and so if it's a really hot instrument, like if it's an electric bass that has an onboard preamp, it might be really hot. If it's a synthesizer, it might be really hot, and you might need to turn down the gain so that it doesn't clip. Or it could be a really soft instrument. It could be an electric guitar that does not have a preamp on board. And if that's the case, the level might need to be boosted. So you're going to use this gain knob here to control the input gain of whatever you're trying to plug in. This button here is the one that kind of throws people most of the time. What this does is there's duplicates of these input ports on the back. They're just in 1/4-inch format. This button selects whether or not the interface as a whole is quote-unquote listening to the front inputs or if it's listening to the back inputs. So sometimes people will plug a microphone in the front and they'll be messing with the gain control and going, wow, I've got the gain turned up all the way, but I don't hear anything. And it's because the button here has selected the rear input instead of the front input. So you want to push this knob or push this button so that it's popped out, and that'll give you the front input. And this is basically a carbon copy of the left side. So that's the input section. Yeah, there's also a clip indicator here. This red light will come on if you exceed the input voltage, so be careful of that. If you see that red light, you're going to want to turn this down or turn the instrument that you're using down so that it doesn't clip anymore. Here you have a main output. There's two cables coming out of the back of the interface that go to your two speakers, and this main output control is controlling how much voltage is going out to those speakers. So that sort of acts as your master volume for the speakers. And then here you have a headphone volume, and there's a headphone jack here. So this controls the volume for the headphones. So if you have headphones plugged in, you might also be playing through the speakers and not know it, because you might have your headphones plugged in and you're hearing it through your headphones just fine. Everyone else in the lab is getting to enjoy whatever YouTube video you happen to be watching at the moment. So you're going to want to turn this down if that's the case, if you're using this jack for your headphones. If you are using the monitor speakers for your headphone input, if you're just plugging the small 1/8-inch jack into the headphone input on those speakers, then this will still be relevant because that sends the output signal to those monitor speakers. And then there's the direct monitor button. What this button does is it takes a combination of whatever's coming down out of the computer and whatever's going into your inputs here, and it blends it together and sends it out, the input jack and the speaker jack. So when you are recording something, it gives you the instrument information, the audio, the moment that you play it. There's no delay, so you don't have to wait for the audio to get into the computer, be processed, and then come back out, which creates latency, which makes it hard to play along with things. It just lets you hear it directly off the input, so there's no delay at all. So if you ever experienced that latency issue where you play a note and then just a split second later, literally milliseconds later, it plays back, this eliminates that problem. So you would use direct monitoring when you're trying to record in that situation, but most of the time you can just leave it off. Then over here we got the power light, which is pretty self-explanatory. Then there's this little light here that says 48V, 48V. That is 48 volt phantom power. There's a switch on the right-hand side, I believe it is, on the back of this unit, and that sends 48 volts of phantom power to these two mic inputs. There are some microphones, condenser mics, and they require power to come to them through the cable in order to operate. If you happen to be using a condenser mic, and it is possible that some of you may, you will want to make sure that that light is on. Now, it does not do any damage or create any weird additional noise because it's a DC voltage. So it doesn't really matter whether it's on or not if you're not using a condenser mic, but if you are using a condenser mic, it has to be on in order for that microphone to work. Okay, so that's the FastTrack Duo. This is the FastTrack Pro, which is sort of the next generation after, I forget whether it was Avid bought M Audio or the other way around, but one of those companies ended up owning the other, and this is a newer model of the FastTrack line. They switched the casing from metal to plastic, but they added some more features. So I guess they sort of traded some of the ruggedness in for some additional features. So on this one, you can see it's got looks like it's got a couple extra bells and whistles. What you have here is these inputs work the same as the FastTrack Duo, and let's see, yeah, it's got a pad button which is different. These gain knobs here, this knob number 3 and knob number 3 here, that works the same as the gain knobs. This clip indicator works the same. This input level, input signal button is going to let you know when you're playing signal into the interface that you're getting signal as you turn this level knob up. If you're getting signal, it's going to light up green. The pad button is sort of like your, it's like an additional level control. It allows you to increase or decrease the volume by 20 decibels. So if you're playing something that's really, really soft and you need to really jack it up, you can turn the pad off. Or if you're playing something that's really hot and you need to buffer it down, you can hit the pad button to bring it down. The instrument line is the same thing. If you put in, press it in for line level, it is looking for a higher voltage thing. That would be something that's powered, like a drum machine or a keyboard synthesizer. And if you leave it on instrument, it's looking for something with a lower voltage, like a passive guitar or passive bass. Over here in the master cluster, we have a direct mono. Is that what that says? Direct? I forget what that says. Number 7. Let's see what that is. I think it's direct. Oh, stereo mono. Yeah, okay. So what that button does is if you select stereo, it's going to take this input and send it to the left ear and this input and send it to the right ear. And if you put mono, it's going to put both instruments into both ears, so you're hearing in mono. This blend control, whereas the other one has a control that allows you to switch from listening to the inputs and what's coming back from the computer at the same time, this one actually has sort of like a crossfader. When you turn it all the way to the left, you're just hearing the inputs, and when you turn it all the way to the right, you're just hearing the computer. So say you're recording something and you go, man, this mic is super hot and I can't hear the background music, then you would turn this some to the right because that'll give you some more of the computer and it'll turn down the mic input a little bit. Or if you go, man, I can't hear this microphone at all, but I hear the background music super loud, you would turn this to the left, and that turns the mic up a little bit and turns the computer down a little bit, so it allows you to blend it. This is your master output control, just like the other one. This is your headphone output control, just like the other one. And this AB button is kind of a specialty thing. It chooses where the signal coming to your headphones is coming from. It can either, in A mode, which is what you want most of the time, whatever's coming down out of the computer is going to come through the headphones, and in B mode, whatever's coming into the SPDIF connection on the back is going to go. And we're not using SPDIF for anything in the studio or in the tech lab, so we don't need to use that for anything. So we want to leave it in A, on A most of the time. That's pushed out rather than pushed in. So that's the basic controls. They hook up to the speakers the same way. So this master output here is going to control, I'm sorry, no, this one here on the bottom. That master output control is going to control how much signal is going out to your speakers, just like this master output control, no, this one here does on the FastTrack Duo. So that's the basic blush on how those things work, and if you have any questions about it, I am around to help you.